Welcome back everybody to the Meeple Marathon. Today I have somewhat of a surprise video because this package arrived on my doorstep today as somewhat of a surprise. I knew that Roxley Games and Fun Again Logistics was shipping these out, but it seemed to have been taking them quite a while to get the games out, and I had not received any sort of notification that anything was being delivered to my house. And I sign up for all of those, like something's being delivered, so I don't know how it snuck up on me, but here it is. So this is all from the Dice Throne Adventures Kickstarter. But one of the things they did was, not only did they have Dice Throne Adventures, which I am super excited about because it enables you to play Dice Throne solo, but they also redid Season 1, which I had originally backed, but they really just kind of changed the player boards, the cards, the backs of the cards, so they can all be mixed together, and how the individual everything is stored. So I ended up selling my original copy of Dice Throne Season 1 and backed the re-rolled. And this is actually just a big empty box because I had backed just a kind of a single level of Dice Throne Season 2 because I really liked the game, but again, it wasn't one that I could play solo. So I was like, okay, I want to stay involved, but I don't want to go all in because I have nobody to play with that much. So I have, over the course of the last couple of years, collected all of the packs from Season 2, and so as part of the Kickstarter, they gave me, or they didn't give me, I had to buy it, but you can purchase this empty box from Roxley now directly. So I did want to show this off simply because if you have been collecting the kind of Season 2 packs, the individual packs that are like, just 2 fighters, which is enough for you to play 2-on-2, but you'd like to have it stored so it looks like the rest of them. This is, like I said, really just a big empty box. It's got on the back all of the different heroes, but then all you're going to do is take your individual hero trays out of your smaller boxes, and if I can get this open here without knocking everything around, simply put them in here. These are really nice, stiff, but flexible, kind of, I guess they're cardboard wrapped in something, but basically each of the hero things fall right in here, and I think this is for like some instruction manuals or something like that. I'm not really sure what goes in this thin area, but this basically holds your all your Season 2 content, and then you can store it so that it all matches up nicely on the shelf. And just as a little bonus, there's a fun picture on the inside there of the battle box. So that is just a really quick look at you can even see there's the artwork on that side. Is there artwork on this side? It's the same artwork on this side. So just a really nicely well done box. And again, you can get this directly, reaching out to Roxley directly and just say, hey, I'd like an empty Season 2 battle box, and they will oblige. So what we're going to take a look at in this video, for the most part, is Dice Throne Adventures. There is more than enough content here to fill an entire video. So I'm going to cover this. I will also take a look at the promo pack for DTA, the 2020 promo pack that you got as part of the Kickstarter. And then in the second video, we will take a look at the Season 1 rerolled characters. Again, these are not new. These are all the characters from the original game. Actually, I take that back. There are 2 new characters in here, the Ninja and the Treant, who we'll take a very close look at. But then for the most part, we'll just be taking a look at the new player boards and everything else to help synergize it with Season 2. But today, this is going to be our main focus. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this rather large book of a box here. So I'm going to try and do my best to kind of flip this around. You can see here's the spine of the book. These are the kind of master villains that you'll be competing against. And then the rest of the sides I'll make it look like an actual book, which is cool. then, if I can flip this over without shaking everything up, here is the back of the box. Now, I will say I did not back the miniatures. This is a card and dice game. I have enough miniatures as it is. If this becomes, you know, my all-time favorite game, then I will go out and purchase the miniatures. I'm sure Roxley will have them available for purchase down the road. You can get unpainted and pre-painted, but it just seemed like an extra expense when I was already, you know, rolling in several big box games here. So unfortunately I don't have those to show off, but the game does come with standees to represent your heroes, and I think that's perfectly fine. This is not a miniatures game. So the miniatures that plenty of people got, and for great reason, I mean, they looked fantastic, are purely cosmetic. But for some people, they are already very into this game, and so it was worth it for them. So just a pre-video disclaimer there that we won't be seeing any miniatures today, but we'll be seeing all of the main content from Dice Throne Adventures. So what you're seeing here is essentially almost like a dungeon crawl-esque style game with these tiles that are flipped over blindly. You don't get to see them at the beginning of the game, but the whole path is set up. And you're running around and you're collecting these shards of the dice. And you can see here on the very end, 2 out of the 3 have been collected. Once you have collected up the 3 shards, then you can take on the final boss. But as you're running around here, you'll see that there are these villain symbols. These represent minions that you'll flip over a random card based on the color. And what Dice Throne and Roxley and Manny and Nate have done is created a system where they're going to give you a priority of dice to roll and which dice to save, and basically enabling you to roll for the AI and still make, you know, decisions that are beneficial to the AI, but you know, allows you to play that kind of head-to-head style that Dice Throne Adventures used to be in a cooperative setting. So that's what I'm most excited about, is finally being able to chuck all these dice in a solo capacity. So let's take a look at what's inside the box here. All right, so we have our instruction manual. Pretty just big in general, big size, but nice, very colorful. Whole big setup sheet. You can see there's going to be a lot of game trays we're going to show off here in this video. And so here's, you know, the portal crawl, how to play through the portal crawl, how to build a map, how to take on a minion, more minion battle steps, and then the boss battle. And so you can see you play the boss battle a little differently, but essentially it's the same way, but you know, the boss is going to get more cards and more stuff. And then the conclusion, the loot chest, which what do they keep telling me? This loot is based on one of those video games or computer games that's been very popular, and I was never really into, but some people are very excited about that loot system. And then, you know, there's the various game modes. You can actually play the boss versus the bosses in head-to-head games, or you can have someone take control of the boss to take on several people at once. There's a little bit of legacy content. You'll see there's some surprise packs in here. We obviously won't be showing those off today. And a whole bunch of new tokens. So these are not tokens that are found in the game elsewhere, for the most part. Alright, so we have a campaign sheet, which is a little bent here. It's a little sad. I believe you can get free print-offs of this on online, so that's probably what I'll be doing. I'll probably save this for nostalgia's sake. It is double-sided, but it doesn't take much to get through a campaign. Most people are finishing up in about 9 or 10 sessions. Alright, so here's obviously the advertisement for the miniatures, of course. They're going to offer to sell you that stuff and what else you can get. If you're brand new to the scene, you can get everything, essentially. You know, they've got dice trays and card sleeves and neoprene mats and t-shirts and the whole 9 yards. Alright, so then we have a whole bunch of cardboard We'll take a closer look at these in a minute. Here's all the standees as we get closer. And then several game trays. I believe these are game trays. They look like game trays. But this one's going to be for all the tokens. So we'll show that all filled up. Here is, okay, so this says miniatures and other under there. Which is interesting. This is similar to Dwellings of Eldervale, where the big box gave you a solution to store everything, whether you had the additional upgraded content or not. So that says miniatures, this says for standees, here's the plastic for the standees. So I feel like the miniatures would be take up more room than that, so I'm not really sure if that's what you're supposed to put in there. Various health dials to track the minions, and a loot dial to track your gold. And then lots of dice, additional dice here. These, the gray ones, are for the minions and the boss battles, and these D20s are for your loot. So you're going to roll these and check against the loot table that you saw earlier, and that's going to determine what your loot is. And just because these are fun, it's almost like this cardboard is coming apart. So they've got combat points on one side and health on the other, but basically all of these are double-sided, and you're free to use whichever one you want. I guess there is the opportunity that if you're playing with 4 people, you could have 4 different minion battles going on at once. So they gave you 4 health trackers, which is nice. And then the 1 gold tracker that we already saw. The lid goes on real nicely, snaps on. All right, and then what else do we have here? Another large tray. I'm wondering if this is supposed to hold miniatures as well. So this is Rosella. There's a lot of talk about if she's related to the Mad King or not, so on and so forth. But she basically runs the market that you can visit between games to buy upgraded cards. So you're going to pull that out between games. Here's your loot card. So again, remember, you're rolling just a d20, and then depending on the color loot, so you got green loot and you roll a 20, you're going to get a rare. And the boss has a separate side. So regular loot, and then when you're taking on the boss, you get better stuff. All right, so what I have here are the boss player boards and cards. So I'm going to set those off to the side, just so if you care not to see them, I'll put those at the end. That way we don't have any, we can get a good spoiler warning going. I'll make sure that I show off anything that people would consider a spoiler at the end of the game, or end of the video. So the last thing we have here is quite a large tray. This says boss cards, these environment tiles. Here's a legacy pack of environment tiles. Let me just look at these off to the side. Yep. So these are going to be the big bosses, their specific cards. So I guess they should go in there. What else do we have here? Not sure what these are going to be, but I'll take a look at them before I show them off. What else do we have here? Oh, some really nice card dividers here. They're like nice thick cardboard. You can see that they're going to go in nicely and slot in there. So a good storage setup, it looks like, that's included with the game here. Let's see what else. These appear to be just reference cards. And here's another legacy pack. We obviously will not be looking at that. Let's see, here's another legacy pack, so we'll tuck that away too somewhere. And another legacy pack. So again, it's fun that this is not a legacy game, but they added some of that stuff in there. So some large dividers for the large cards, which is nice. And then, so yeah, let me just take a look at these. These appear to be like the scenarios and the minion cards, but I'm going to take a look at some of this stuff. We'll zoom in a little closer and take a look at everything, and I'll make sure I give fresh spoiler warnings before I show off anything you might not want to see. Okay, so first off, let's take a look at the cardboard here, because this should not be this really shouldn't contain any spoilers. I'm going to keep this status effects and tokens thing handy so I can explain as to what some things are. So these are obviously the standees, place of the miniatures. In my opinion, these are going to work just fine for the game. And these are loot tokens, so this would represent level 2 loot. I'm not really sure why these are here, because I believe you gain loot based on the minions you defeat and things like that. So I'm not really sure what these are for. These are called a life Siphon token. If your offensive roll phase results in an attack, steal 1 health. This is the salve, so this is basically like stuff you obtain and allows you to heal up as you go on your adventure. And these are the King's Hand tokens. These are very important. These allow you to force you to re-roll and things like that, or give the minions the ability to re-roll. This is the only thing that, to my knowledge, can force you to re-roll an ultimate. So let's look at the next page here. It looks to be all standees, and these standees should cover everything from Season 1 and Season 2. And here are the the 3 shards that pop out. Yep, they're basically the same on the other side. Alright, what else do we have here? This is a Hex Token. Whenever a player afflicted with this token rolls a 6, it's as if that die has been altered to a blank face. That's interesting. This one is Dominance. When a player with this token attacks, they must roll 1 die, and then on a certain roll they do certain things. Let's see, this one is Silence. A player afflicted with this token may not activate their small straight or large straight abilities. Okay, interesting. Let's see here. This is Backstrike. When a player with Backstrike receives damage as a result of an opponent's offensive roll phase, they may choose to spend this token, roll 1 die, deal half the value in damage. Bleed. A player afflicted with this token must roll 1 die during their upkeep phase. On a 1 of 4, they are dealt 1 damage. Let's see, what's this? Poison. A player afflicted with this token is dealt 1 damage per poison token during the upkeep phase. Pretty straightforward. Here we have Chaos. These tokens are gained and spent by various minions and bosses. Here we have Flight. Players may choose to spend these tokens at any time during their roll phase. Once spent, roll 2 dice. If you roll a 6, activate the token. When activated during the offensive roll phase, the player's attack becomes undefendable. So that's interesting. Let's see up here. Where is this guy? Wither. If a player with Wither token would deal damage as a result of their offensive roll phase, reduce that damage by 1 per Wither token. Some of these I feel like I've seen before. Knockdown. Yeah, we've seen Knockdown before. What's this? Burn. We've seen Burn before. So maybe they're just giving you additional ones because the minions can have the same effects. What's this? Spider one. Parasite. During the upkeep phase, if a player inflicted with this token has a positive status effect, they receive 1 damage. And I'm paraphrasing a lot of these here. Concussion. A player afflicted with this token must skip their income phase. What's this guy? Blind. The next time a player afflicted with this token concludes their offensive roll phase, they must remove it and roll 1 die. On a 1 or a 2, they fail. Evasive, we know. Another King's Hand token. What's this one? Bounty, we know. I think this is Tangled. No, Entangle. A player afflicted with this token gets 1 fewer roll attempts during their next offensive roll phase. So, and this, what's this one? Stun. So a lot of these we've seen before. What was this one? Did I cover this one before? Barbed Vine. A player afflicted with this token receives 1 damage for each roll attempt beyond the first one. All right, so that is the all the tokens. And again, we have this handy dandy token tray that should, it actually goes like this, be used to set everything up. So let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, so there we go. That is everything in there according to the second page of the rule book here, which it's very nice that they've included this for some very specific reasons. For example, there's 4 of each of these type of tokens. Then there's 6 of the Wither and 8 of what was this one called? Chaos. So, or like there's only 2 of these, and 1 of these, and 3 of these, and you can see each one of these is a very specific size. So there is literally a perfect place for everything so that it fits in here. And so I appreciate that they went ahead and did that. It is interesting now that I look at it, like why they wanted these 4 tokens to be not round like everything else. Just makes you curious. Also, there are 1, 2, 3, and I don't even know why you need these to be in their own little thing here. You could almost say 4 blank spots here. So I'm wondering if maybe some of the legacy elements include some tokens, or if they've already planned on leaving room for future expansions. So that's exciting. All right, so this is all the tokens. Here it is with the lid on it. So there you go. Let's take a look at some of the other cardboard. Okay, so what I'm about to show you now are probably just a sample of some of the, I guess, dungeon tiles, map tiles that are going to be included in the game. So some of you may consider this to be a spoiler, and probably everything else from here on out in this unboxing is going to be a what some might consider a spoiler. I will include at the very end what it all looks like stored back into all of the trays properly, and I'll make sure that that is properly bookmarked so you can jump past anything that might be considered a spoiler. But this is your fair warning to, if you don't want to see the map tiles, if you don't want to see a sample of the loot cards, if you don't want to see a sample of, let's say the Crazed Barbarian, maybe we'll show off some of his cards. If you don't want to see any of that stuff, then turn away now. But if you would like to see just a sample of what some of these tiles will look like, then please feel free to continue watching. So this is the boss tile, the boss portal. So this one's pretty straightforward. This one's always going to be sitting on at the end of your dungeon, or somewhere in your dungeon, and this is where you're going to place your 3 pieces of the die. So this one you're going to see a lot, because this one's going to be included, and basically it's just telling you that you're going to spawn the boss. And this, I believe, is the starting tile. So this, again, you're always going to see this one. You're always going to start here. It is, the same on both sides. So this is basically your starting tile. Then from here we have several stacks of, we've got a stack of level 1s, we've got a stack of level 2s that's quite large, actually. They're pretty close to being the same size here. Level 3s, and a few level 4s. So 1, 2, and 3 are all the same size, and then we have the 4s. So I'm just going to flip over like maybe the top 2 here, just so you guys can get a general idea of what these are looking like. So we've got the Toll Bridge. This is spawning a blue enemy. Alternatively, pay 3 CP and spawn a green enemy, which must be easier. I'm assuming the colors represent how difficult they are. So if desired, you may sell cards at this time. Or we've also got a Volcanic Spout. Active players discard a positive status effect, receive 2 damage. They're also gaining a gold, though. They're spawning a green enemy. Yeah, so you can see here, I'll show off one more of the level 1s. Everglade Stream. Gain 1 level 1 loot. Spawn a green enemy. This minion gains first strike. So, most of this is, I'm sorry, I'm holding them off camera. Most of these are, probably hurting you in some way, maybe giving you some gold or some loot, but a lot of them are going to spawn enemies, and that's the whole point of this, is taking on, smaller level minions and rolling up the dice against them. So let's take a look at a couple of the level 2 tiles now. Toll Gate. So spawn a purple, alternatively pay 4 CP. So we've kind of seen that one. Let's just randomly dig into the middle here. Pensive Bath. Roll 1. Okay, so you're basically taking a chance here on a die roll, and that you're spawning a blue enemy. Here are, let's take a random look at one of the purple tiles. Mountain of Salt. Spawn a purple one. Alternatively roll. Okay, on 1 through 3, spawn a level 4 monster. On a 4 through 6, gain. Okay, so you could take your chance on spawning a worse monster, gaining loot. So again, just some very interesting tiles, and what I really appreciate about all this. Actually, let's leave those there, not to spoil them. But I'm going to flip this top one back over. They easily could have just simply put this iconography on the tile and made it a very kind of common looking dungeon floor look to it, but they produced unique art for every single one of these tiles, gave it a unique name. So that's just going to be really fun to flip all these over and see the various artwork on all of them. All right, so that's essentially the rest of the cardboard in the game. So now we're going to take a look at some of the minion cards. So again, if you care not to see what some of the minions are that you're going to encounter, then turn away now, but you have been warned. Okay, so here are some of the minion cards. Again, they are divided up similar to the way the environment tiles are. I am not going to spoil any of these level 4 monsters right now, so we'll set those off to the side. But here are some level 1s, so let's just take a random look at a couple of these guys. Here's a Goblin Enchanter. So essentially this is what he's looking for. He only has one offensive roll he can make, and he's got his roll objective here. So really, I think the instructions tell you how to, what to keep. But essentially, if you roll the dice and you have any one of these 3 symbols, you're going to keep it. Where are my chaos dice? Remember what happened to all of them. They're around here somewhere. Oh, here they are. Let me get a couple out just so we can have an example here. Alright, so you can see the chaos dice here are all the same. So that's a 6, this is going to be on a 4 and a 5, and then 1, 2, and 3. So like this guy's offensive roll objective is actually kind of tough to hit. So I'm assuming if you were to roll this, you're going to keep one of them and re-roll the other one. Things like that. So it makes it pretty straightforward. I don't think this is going to be as difficult as some people might think, rolling for an opponent and trying to figure out what to re-roll and when to re-roll it. So but he even has a defensive roll here. He's got a reward. He's got 10 health and 1 CP. Your opponents discard 1 card randomly, deal 4 undefendable damage. So again, I'll have to remind myself the rules how these guys spend their CP, but they do have instructions for all that within the game. Let's take another look at one more, level 1. Alright, so roll objective is any straight. So again, this is nice that he's got 3 micro straight, small straight, and large straight. Obviously, if you get doubles of any number, you're re-rolling those. And I know easily that if you get like a 1 or a 6, you are going to re-roll it unless you already have a, say, 2 and a 3. If you have 1, 2, and 3, obviously you're going to keep that because that's already a micro straight. But if you have, say, 3 and 4 and then 1 and 6, you're going to keep the 3 and the 4 and you're going to re-roll the 1 and the 6. It makes a lot of sense, and if you're familiar with playing the game and the odds that you have of re-rolling certain things, then you know which dice really to re-roll based on the roll objective. So this is the key thing here, is that each person has a roll objective that they're going for. So let's take a look at, well, we're jumping around here. Let's take a look at a random number 2, and we'll take a look at a random number 3. All right, Wailing Banshee. So their roll objective is essentially a ultimate, but you can see that depending on how many 6s she rolls, she's basically doing rising levels of damage. And this damage is dealt to all opponents currently engaged with her. So she's pretty nasty. So that's a level 2. And let's look at this level 3 here, Orc Shaman. All right, so he's looking for the 2 commons and then 2 6s. If he can get there, he inflicts poison. He does all this. Passive: on a failed offensive roll, inflict Parasite and Hex. So if he fails to get this, he's still going to mess with you. Defensive rolls, things like that. So that is just an example of what some of the minion cards look at. Next, we're going to take a look at what some of the scenario cards look at. I'll probably just show off the first one just so everybody can see what it's like, and then I won't spoil the rest of what the scenarios look like. Okay, so here is basically the 4 level or first scenario options you have. So not only are there 8 different scenarios, and every other one is a boss battle. So 4 portal crawls that you can go through, but there is 4 of each level. So when you're ready to play scenario 1, you'll simply shuffle these up and draw one randomly, meaning that there is some replayability here. So I'm just going to pick one at random and flip it over, and you can see here that there is a specific layout that's going to be different. Here you're just kind of starting in the middle and having to go out the arms, but it tells you where to put a random level 1 environment, level 2's environments. It tells you where to put the shards, it tells you where to put some salve. It tells you what each hero gets at the start of setup based on player count, starting gold, all this stuff. So basically this just tells you how to set up the scenario. It's very straightforward. It tells you how the King's Hand tokens are used. So yeah, this is just an example of one of the portal crawl cards, one of the scenarios, and again there's 4 for each level that can be mixed up and played at random. Okay, so from here on out we're going to be taking a look at some of the cards, and so the first thing I wanted to do is just show a sampling of what some of the boss cards are going to look like. So we're only going to take a look at Fallen Barbarian cards, and I'm just going to show you a sample. But again, I wanted to give everyone fair warning to turn away, avert your eyes if you don't want to be spoiled in any way. So again, you're randomly going to be divide these up here. There's 2 different types of cards here that they're going to be using, and they've got the same back, so you're going to have to figure out how to keep them separate. But this first bit of cards that I'm going to show you is upgrades that they're going to spend CP based on how long it took you to complete the portal crawl. So the faster you complete the portal crawl, the less upgrades the boss is going to get. But essentially, these should look very familiar. And here's just an example of his Skull Bash upgrade. So this will cover up this. He's got this on his board, and it's going to be a level 1 and a level 2, or level 2 or level 3. But you will spend this, and it's going to cost him 2 CP to put it down, and he's basically going to get this right off the bat. So the bosses always start with a ton of upgrades on their sheet, and this is just one example of what one of those upgrades might look like. Then they're going to go through with a set of cards, and they're going to be drawing one each turn, and if they have the CP to spend it, they're going to spend it and make use of that card. If not, they're going to sell the card immediately to gain 1 CP, hopefully to use next time. So just as an example, here is one where this one would cost 0 CP, so obviously they would use it. It's going to heal him 1 and draw 1 more card, and if he has the ability to play that card, he will. But what's most important is at the bottom, it gives you a roll objective every time. So this is what you're looking to roll for him, is all 1s, 2s, and 3s. Once you have rolled 3 times, then you're going to determine whether or not that what on his board that fits. So let's just look at one other card here. Let's look at a roll phase action card. So at the conclusion of your offensive roll phase, change your 3 dice with the lowest value to 6s. So again, his roll objective here is 6s, but he can also flip these over to, flip, what did it say, 3 dice over to 6s. So, basically if he gets 3 6s, he's going to end up rolling an ultimate. But he also has to have 4 CP in order to pay for this card. If he does not have 4 CP, he's going to have to sell this card. He still goes for this roll objective, but he'll sell this card to gain a CP for future payment. So that is just a brief sampling of what some of the boss cards look like. Okay, so here we have a sampling of the loot cards. Now, similar to everything else, basically everything is color-coded, from green being common, then rare and blue, epic and purple, and orange and legendary, similar to the the levels of the minions and the levels of the environment and everything else. So you'll gain these based on, remember this loot table, for example. Here is the boss. So if you get a level 5 loot, you're going to roll your d20, and if you get a 20, you're going to get an epic, but there's a good chance you're going to get a common. Whereas if you get a level 8, you've got, what is this, 1/5 chance of getting a legendary. Same thing on the other side. If you get a level 4 or level 3 loot and you roll a 20, you're going to get a legendary card. Now, it's important that you keep these divided up when they're not actually in your hand, but you can see they all have the exact same back, because these are going to be mixed into your hand. So these match your player cards, and this is the biggest reason why they did a Season 1 reroll, was because originally these Season 1 cards had unique backs for each character, but now they wanted to make it so you could add unique cards into each player's deck based on these loot cards, so all the card backs match. So again, I'm just going to show you a brief sampling of each one. I am going to show off one legendary card simply because they are too epic not to show off one of them. But then that's it. So just as an example, here is a common one. So Wild 2, like everybody has a So Wild card in their hand already. Change the value of any one die. So you basically would gain this card. I believe then you have the opportunity to purchase it at the end. So you kind of gain it, you tuck it away, you're not sure what it is, and then I believe you have the opportunity to purchase it. I have to refresh myself on the rules, but this is an example of a common loot card. This is an example of a rare loot card, so kind of the level 2s, double up 3. So rolling a single die and basically getting to draw cards on top of that. It's free action. Here is a sample epic card. Vegas Baby 4. So most people are familiar with Vegas Baby, but this is just gives you better stuff on it, and it's also free. And last but not least, I'm only going to show off the very bottom legendary loot card, which just happens to be the way they packed it. Everybody's going to see this one if you purchase the game. It's hard not to look at it, and you'll see why in a second here. So this isn't even that big of a super spoiler, unless you have, somehow keep your eyes closed while you're unpacking the box. You're going to end up seeing this card, but I just want to make sure that everybody saw the foily goodness that is these legendary, and every single one of these legendary cards has this foil effect to it, which is just so awesome. This one's a blood pact 3, but and you cannot sell it, but other than that, it just pulling these in your hand is just going to be such a satisfying part of the game. So that is a legendary loot, and that is all of the loot cards. So the last thing we're going to do is take a look at the promo pack that came for DTA. I have decided I'm not going to show off the boss boards, simply because that, just maybe some spoilerish stuff there. So we'll keep those tight to the vest. We'll look at the promo cards, and then I'll show you off what everything looks like back in the box. Okay, so what we're going to take a look at last here is the DTA Promo Pack. Now, this is, at least as far as I know, a Kickstarter exclusive. There may be a chance for you to purchase this later, directly off of Roxley's website, but for now, this isn't spoiling anything that's going to be included in the base game, especially if you buy it on retail. So again, if you care not to see what's in this promo pack, turn away now, but I am going to show off all of these cards, which includes, some legendary loot, etc. So you have been warned. All right, so the first thing we have here is, again, like I said, some legendary loot. These are foiled just like the rest of them. And I'm just going to kind of go through these real quickly. So Black Belt 2, Holy Relic 2, Guard Dog. You can see they all say promo card on them, so if you wanted to get rid of them or not play with them, you could pull them out easily. Black Belt, Holy Relic, Utility Belt, Utility Belt 2. Oops, I kind of went, these aren't like in order here. Blood Amulet, a Bolus, inflict knockdown on a chosen opponent. A Bolus 2, draw 1 card and inflict knockdown. Firstest Strike. A chosen minion loses first strike ability if played during a boss battle. Your attack becomes undefendable. Okay. First Strike 2, Trench Coat, Cat Burglar, and regular Guard Dog. Alright, so that's the promo loot cards, and these are the promo minions. You can see the Loot Goblin is also shiny. Actually, they're all shiny. They're all nice and foily shiny, so that's fun. So here's the Loot Goblin. He is a level 3 minion. The Chimera, again, really shiny. He's, we can see up here, he's a level 3 Melodic Maiden. Yeah, she's got a very simple role objective here. She's a level 1. A Lithe Elf, level 2. And just so you have been warned, this is a level 4 minion coming up. The Umbra. So he gets a King's Hand token to start with. Yeah, but yeah, there he is. That is an example of a level 4 minion right there. Alright, so that is what's included in the DTA promo pack. Let's take a look at what everything looks like stored back in the box. Okay, so here is the box all put back together, essentially. One thing I do want to point out is that there is a little bit of space left behind. The rulebook kind of fills that space. Probably actually want to put it more on this side. But what I will probably end up doing is trying to find a thin piece of foam that's pretty squishy to just make sure that these don't shift very much, because more than likely I'm going to want to put these on their sides on the shelf, because that's the way the box is designed to look on its side on the shelf. So but everything has its own storage place. There's no DIY storage needed, no additional inserts needed. Everything has a place, and you can see that here. The tokens sit on top of the large card tray, and we're going to show that off here in a second. These are all, this gives you space for miniatures, I guess, but also standees. There's plenty of space, so I could easily move all my standees into here if I had something else that I needed to store. All the health trackers and dice are right there. And then this is holding the boss boards and the loot sheet and everything like that. And then there's nothing underneath. There's no board or anything here. All the board is created by these tiles. Now, I will say one thing. Be careful pulling this big one out of the box. The plastic on the bottoms of here are not super firm, and this is very heavy. This one particular one, so I'm actually going to leave it in the box here just to kind of show off some things that I really appreciate that they did with. Let's see if I can get the lids definitely lock in there, which is nice. So these dividers that they have created, they shifted a little bit on me, but that's okay. You can see that the way they have created them, they've got these notches on the inside of them, and they actually have notches built into the plastic, so each one kind of slides in there, and there's always a gap, so you can always easily get in and be drawing your cards without having to flip through them like a Rolodex. So I just think that's really nice setup, and even there is room with everything to fit all of these legacy packs and everything. Here's the legacy pack, there's 2 legacy packs right here, and then there's one here. Then everything, all the loot cards are over here, all the boss cards, and then my reference cards are back here. But everything has a place, but I just really liked how they created these dividers so that they stay separated from each other, and you can easily pull these decks out without having to shuffle through them. And again, this lid fits on here nice and tight, which is good. So you should be able to turn this on its side. It's just this is quite heavy. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to pick it up out of the box. But other than that, that is a full and complete unboxing of Dice Throne Adventures. Like I said, you can see there's a little bit of space, not even like a finger's thickness on top here, but enough that these might shift a little bit. So again, I'm going to try and find a really thin piece of foam to fit on there. But that is Dice Throne Adventures. So join me in my next video where we're going to take a look at all of the Season 1 re-rolled content. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, including plenty more Dice Throne Adventures content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.